ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Check this out, we got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for a little breakfast bankroll. The odds couple. Thank you, Senor Mr. Lucky. Of course, there. Little Friday night MLB bright lights, and we got some big series, some big matchups tonight. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Scott Webb, live from Tampa, as we go through what has happened since Monday, since me and him first talked on our Monday morning edition. And then, like I said, playoff implications as we're at August 8th. And, you know, time is running out, if my math is correct. Let me see. You probably got about 7 weeks left till October 1st, and we'll be playing some playoff baseball. So before we get to Scotty and that, shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks. The list is endless. Matt, Alan. I could go on and on and on and not have a show, but do us a favor. Go download the app. Head on over to wagerwire.com // odds, calculator, graphs. You'll see, and on the app is amazing. If you do parlays, you can do your actual live odds, not the cash out odds. Do yourself a favor. Join us, join the community, and then ask questions, and the rest will be history. AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith on Facebook. Come on back to AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Steak, seafood, chops, appetizers, wine. Terry's got it all. Promo code SCHOOL. That's right, SCHOOL. Get yourself a free box of chicken or a free box of chicken tenders, valued at around $70. So without further ado, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
Hey, good morning, man. You know, one of the things that's driving me crazy is these guys on MLB Network, and I shouldn't be picking on those guys too hard. They're just former players, and theoretically they are trying to keep fan interest probably for some of these teams. But you know, I hear these guys talk about, oh, be careful of the Royals and be careful of these teams and blah blah blah, and they're going to make the playoffs, and you know, this is going to be some major push at the end and blah blah blah. Okay, well, looking at Fangraphs odds, right, to make the playoffs, it's over in the National League. It's not even close. The National League is done. If you look at the National League odds to make the playoffs, Phillies 97.8, Mets 87.5. They're both in. And then Brewers 99.4, Cubs 97.4. Ain't nobody competing with that. And then the Dodgers 99.5, Padres 93. That's all of them. They're all in. right? There's nobody else that's going to be there. And then in the American League, you got the Blue Jays at 98. You've got the Tigers at 97. The Mariners and Astros 85 kind of each, right there with each other. And then Yankees 83, Red Sox 74. There's nobody else. The team you would think, the Rangers, they're 34% to make the playoffs, the Rangers. So I think that all these guys on the network shows are out there just, trying to generate fan interest or whatever, because it's over. It's what day is today? August the 8th. August the 8th. It's over, barring, Aaron Judge falling out and getting sick and dying or something.
Well, it's funny you lead with this because I talked backstage what my headliner was. Red Sox travel to Petco Park, big playoff implications for both. Hey, maybe we can leave Dave O'Brien and get Orsillo back in that trade over the weekend. But I was going to ask you, honestly, my question is, there's been two epic moves in baseball in the last month to 6 weeks, and the Brewers are doing historic things. And we had already had the Cubs signed, sealed, delivered. Here come the Brewers, kind of blew by them, didn't even stop, just kept going. And then I look at on the other side, I'm losing my train of thought here. Yankees, 10-game lead, and the Jays go blowing by them. Now, both are still in the playoffs currently, Cubs and Yankees. But when that happens in baseball, when you have a huge lead, now you're past, and we have 7 weeks to go. Is it more a survival to stay in the playoffs and get a wild card, or do you see them say, all right, that was our swoon, and now here we come the last 7? What 7 weeks? What usually happens more often, Scott?
Well, it kind of depends on what sort of team you were at the time that your swoon happened. Like the Yankees, they were like, we've been leading the AL East the whole year. And, we've been good. We had a 10-game lead, 6-game lead, 8-game lead, whatever. So their belief as a team and their manager's belief is that they're a good team. So we're just going through a down spell, right? That's what they're going through. And every single team goes through a down spell. It doesn't matter. They all do. Sometimes those down spells don't last very long. But what if I told you, because I looked it up as I was sitting here, in the last 30 games, last 30 games, the Yankees are 13-17. Okay, that's not very good, but they're 4 games under 500. But you know what? So are the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 13-17 in their last 30 games, and ain't nobody talking about the Dodgers the way they're talking about the Yankees. So I sit there and kind of look at that, and you and I talked. I don't know. We've been talking about it for a while. That I'll sit there and say, well, these leads aren't strong enough for a team when they go on a run. If a team goes on a run and goes 20-10, they're gonna go past all these teams and do a lot of stuff, right? Well, if you look at what the Brewers are doing, they're 23-7 in their last 30 games. So there's 16 games up there, not just 10, 16. And then you look at the Blue Jays, they're 20-10. They're not going to stay there. Teams don't play at that level for more than 30, 40 games, and then all of a sudden they're going to fall back again. So that that will balance things out. It'll let teams catch up a little bit. The Red Sox in the last 30 games, they're 22-8. They won't stay 22-8. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen that way. So they'll fall back a little bit. And you kind of want to predict a little bit of that. You go and say, well, what's the remaining schedule look like? And we talked about Boston was way up there. Well, now they've played some of those teams. Now they're in the middle. They're 14 on the list of teams. Their remaining schedule is 501 if you put them all together. That's what is left. And then if you look at the Yankees, They're 26th out of 30 teams. That means they're the fourth easiest schedule. They basically play. The Yankees play 7 games against the White Sox, 3 against the Nationals, 7 against the Orioles, 6 against the Twins. Those are all winnable games for them. And if they can get their stuff together, right, then they can go on that 20-10 run. And then all of a sudden they're right back where everybody said they're supposed to be. So I think that's kind of a coordinated thing. The 2 teams that have the easiest schedules remaining, the Dodgers and the Padres, both of them. So, they're going to start winning a whole bunch of games, those 2 teams. They're just going to win, and until they play each other. And they play each other 6 times left in the season between the Dodgers and the Padres. The Cubs have the next easiest schedule, and then the Tigers, and then the Yankees. So, the Tigers are going to win that division, not a problem. And then when you start to look at who's kind of got the toughest road as a team that is trying to make the playoffs, and maybe why Fangraph says Texas sucks, is because they have the 4th hardest schedule. 4th. They still got to play. They got to play the Brewers 3 times, the Blue Jays 3 times, the Phillies 3 times, the Astros 6 times, the Mets 3 times, and the Guardians 6 times. That's not an easy road to hoe for them. So I can see that. And then Toronto has the 5th toughest schedule left. So, it's going to balance out a little bit. But I think what's going to end up happening is the teams that, quote, looking at the Fangraph chart, there's no way you're going to get the Kansas City Royals to make it past these teams. They're just not. The Guardians, they're not going to make it. Those teams don't have enough offense, A, and B, none of those teams, the Guardians, the Royals, some of these other teams that they're talking about, do they have strong enough pitching to make it? I know the Royals have good pitching, but they don't have their ace guys, right? Bubik was really good all season, and now he's out. And Reagan's is done. So they would need those 2 guys to really sit there and go, yeah, we can battle now because we have these guys that can come in here and do this. I just think that that's where the problem runs into. Cleveland's got Bybee. That's it. And Bybee, we talked to backstage a minute ago about Pivetta being a 4-WAR guy. Bybee's a 1.9 guy, 2 at the most. So when you start talking about the best pitcher that Cleveland has, he's kind of a little bit better than average, like that's about what he is. And that doesn't mean he can't go win some games, but that just means that if you match him up against guys that are 4-WAR guys, 3-WAR guys, 5-WAR guys, he's outmatched. And I think that that kind of runs into problems. It's an interesting way to look at it from what Major League Baseball TV is doing, and what they're trying to, I guess, sell to the public, that this is going to be the greatest, division race run that there is. Shit, I'm hitting here to August 8th. It's over. It's done. This is it. Those 6 teams in the National League are in, and there's a slight possibility that Texas can get in. I don't think Texas is going to make it. DeGrom, who is, obviously good pitcher for them, hasn't been. I guess the best way to say it is, I thought he was DeGrom of old as he was coming on at the beginning part of the season, towards the middle part of the season. Now that we've reached the middle part of the season, he can't beat the Mariners. He can't beat if you can't beat the teams you're chasing with one of your best, if not your best pitcher, you're not going to win. And I like the fact that they got Merrill Kelly, right? I like that. But look what they're doing today, right? Texas is where is it? Texas. Texas is playing Philadelphia. Texas is at home with Merrill Kelly, and they're not a favorite at home. And again, this is a team in Texas. And Texas is where's the situation over there? Texas at home, one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. They're not the best, but they're one of them. 36-21 at home. They can't win on the road. So it's not a good sign that when you're throwing, okay, I got Merrill Kelly. Well, you got him matched up wrong or something. You know what I mean? Like Merrill Kelly can beat a lot of guys. You know, Tanner Bybee, right? He can beat Tanner Bybee, but I don't think he can beat Christopher Sanchez.
No, and again, a lot of great matchups today. Full slate ahead. What I want to do, it's Friday Night Lights. It's 9:30. A lot of people starting to ease their way in here on Twitter and X and wherever else. I'm going to pull you front and center so you can go through your news and notes, pull up a few games, and you can take a look at some matchups or some stuff that you might see either for tonight or for the weekend.
Yeah, I got to be really honest. I didn't think that the last week, maybe last 2 weeks of matchups have been good. I haven't bet a lot over the last 2 weeks. And I'm looking at today's matchups, and I'm like, holy shit, I got to start eliminating some stuff just so I don't bet 7 games. Because I really think there's some good matchups out there today to bet on, and we'll talk about them.
All right, give me a second.
So today's slate starts in Pittsburgh, and this is Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and this is Burns against Keller. So it's interesting because my numbers come out and say Pittsburgh should be 115 favorites today. But Burns is a good pitcher, right? So this is where some of this stuff you got to vet through all your stuff and as it comes out. And you know, when I looked at the bet score on this game, what I found was kind of amazing. First, Chase Burns gets the pitcher points. He gets 20 points. He's under 4 in earned run average, and he gives up less than a home run a game. Whereas Keller's been getting hit. So Keller's over 4. He's 4.75 SARE number. His game score in his last 7 games is a 50, so that's average. And his home run rate's 2.10. That is all bad news as a pitcher, right? So far we've got a pretty good edge, 15 points to nothing. And then that's where it stops because Cincinnati's offense currently, if I look at them here, Cincinnati's offense, they rank 29th in offensive WAR. They rank 30th in isolated power, and they are 13 runs below average of a baseball team. I can't support an offense like that against a pitcher that could be decent, right? And his last start for Keller was a 24. He's not going to throw a 24 today. He's going to go throw better than a 24. And the one thing that's kind of interesting when you start to think about, and I don't know how much you follow them, but the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're 32 wins, 27 losses at home. That means they probably never win on the road. They're probably 0-50. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But the point being is that at home, they actually play pretty well. This is a bad spot to be betting Cincinnati, even though you got a better pitcher. So I passed on that game because I thought it was an intriguing matchup, but I can't support a 29th ranked offense and a 30th ranked isolated power offense. So let me tell you what that means. If you're a 30th ranked isolated power offense, the only way you're scoring runs is by stringing a series of hits together. You need to get 3 hits to score a run. And you're not hitting home runs, and you're not hitting doubles. You're not hitting triples. So that's a problem. If your isolated power is number 1 or number 2 in all of Major League Baseball, right? You can get a guy get a walk and hit a home run, and he's got 2 runs. It's just that simple because that's what it measures. Isolated power, the way it works is you take OPS and basically, or slugging percentage, whatever, and subtract. It's not OPS, it's slugging. You take the slugging percentage and subtract the batting average. So what's left is isolating the difference of base hits to extra base hits. So that means isolated power. So now you're looking at teams that can score runs based on the strength of hitting doubles, triples, and home runs. And that's an ease and a comfort for an offense to be able to score runs that way. If you can't score runs based on that, then you have to string a bunch of hits together. That's the only way you're going to do it. And you're going to have to get a bunch of walks, right? So guys on base, that's an important factor. So I'm staying away from that game for that. But here's what I think is the first bettable game. This is Houston in New York. So Hunter Brown against Schlittler, right? So Hunter Brown is a 4-WAR pitcher, 4.5. And Schlittler is a 0.3 guy. A 0-0 guy is like a call-up from AAA who's never pitched in the big leagues. He's just an average guy. So 0.3 above that means that's kind of what this is. This is kind of like a AAA call-up guy against a true star major league pitcher. So that puts a big emphasis on the pitcher for Houston. And when you look at the numbers and it comes out, the bet score, he gets 15 points for Sierra, 3.92. His game score in his last 7 is 56, so it's over 53. So he gets 10 points for that. And he gets his home run rate is 1, so he gets 5 points for that. So he gets 30 points to Schlittler's 0 points. He gets 0 points. And then when it comes to the offense, I don't know if you've been watching the Yankees, but the Yankees don't have an offense right now. Houston at least has some offense. They get 10 points because their weighted runs created plus over the last 7 days is 112. So they're 12% better than average offense. So they get points for that. And when it comes to the bullpen, you seen the Yankees bullpen lately? It's all Houston. So the game total comes out to 58 points for Houston, 8 points for the Yankees. So handicapping skills and handicapping this game, you kind of look at this and you go, Houston's dominant here. And then when you bring in the line into that, my odds for the game is Houston minus 137. When I pulled it up on ProfitX this morning, it's minus 111. So there's 20 points of value there. I think this is one of the biggest bets you can make today is on the Houston Astros against the New York Yankees, Schlittler against Brown. So I like that bet. And you're not sitting here going, oh my God, I got to pay 150. It's 111. So I kind of liked that. The Athletics in Baltimore. Baltimore was playing pretty well. Now they're not. Baltimore over the last 10 games is 5-5. Over the last 20, they're 9-11. The A's are playing better than that. The A's over the last 20 are 11-9 and 6-4 in the last 10. So what's interesting here is I don't know if you guys know much about JT Ginn, but JT Ginn, I don't grade him. I just put in the numbers. There's pitching plus, right? And then there's stuff plus. So his stuff plus number is 95. It's an average number. It's not the best, and obviously 100 is kind of average, right? So he's right in that average ballpark, which Sagano is 92, so he's below average. So what that means is that grading the spin on the ball and the curve balls, the velocity of the fastball, the movement, and all that stuff, that's the grade, right? 95, 92. So Ginn's a little bit better when it comes to the stuff. But what you really want to look at is pitching plus. Pitching plus then takes what a pitcher has in terms of stuff and says, we're going to grade you on how you use your stuff. Do you put it on the corners? Do you move the ball around? Is it up and down? Can you control what you're throwing? And his pitcher plus number is 116. JT Ginn, 116, way better than average. One of the best of the day. For give you an idea, Burns, I told you how good he was, right? 117. Scooble is pitching today. Where's Scooble? Scooble, he's a 110. So JT Ginn can put the ball where it needs to go, and he can pitch. This guy can pitch. He's off a game score 31. His last 7 starts is game score 51. He's been a bulk guy. So he's been pitching 4 to 5 innings in behind a starter. He's pitched, I think, looks like he's pitched 3 games since getting back into the starting rotation. His last start was a bad one, 31 was his game score. But before that, it was a 73 and a 50. I expect him to throw better than a 31 today. And Sugano, his game score for the last 7 is a 37. And for the season's a 47. So he's very hittable. He's not a strikeout guy. He's a contact, pitcher. So I think that you got a pitching edge with the A's. And then when it comes to offensively, the A's are ranked 3rd in offense and 3rd in isolated power. Well, that's great. What is Baltimore? Baltimore is 30th and 28th. They're the worst team in offense. They are minus 13.2 runs right now, and the A's are plus 13.1 runs. So this is a spot where the A's should be pretty good. When I looked at it, my number was Baltimore minus 116, and I got kind of a pick'em number from Profit X. It's minus 102, minus 104. So I think that is some value there, not a lot, but at least I think there's a reasonable chance there. But when it comes to percentage of play, my total came out to there's a 16% edge to bet on the A's, and there was a 56% edge because of the bet score and stuff to bet on the Astros. So I eliminated the A's only because it wasn't a big huge edge. It was just an edge. And when you're betting, that's all you need is an edge. And if you think about it, you have an offensive edge for the A's and a pitching edge for the A's. And it's probably pretty good. So anyway, the next game is the Angels in Detroit, and I'm not going to spend any time on this game. This is Scooble. If you want to bet Scooble, so be it. I think that sports books, when they get up there to minus 300 type numbers, that they got to put out a short number because they're trying to at least get somebody to bet on that side of the game. My line in this game is minus 400 for God's sakes. So I sat there and said, I'm not going to pay that. But more than welcome to. Scooble is Scooble, and he's going to beat the Angels, and it is what it is. So Miami and Atlanta is an interesting matchup because this is Bryce Elder, and Bryce Elder's been hit a ton, and Cabrera has been pretty good for Miami, and Miami's been one of those teams that over the last 30 days you want to bet on, and certainly Atlanta's one of the worst in the last 30 days. So that sort of sets up a spot here. So when I look at this, the first thing that comes out is the Miami pitcher hits all the boxes. He is a 315 Sierra number. He's a 60, almost 61, 60.7 his last 7 as a game score. That's an ace number. That's what best pitchers in baseball do. His WPA is over the number, so it's a positive number, which means that when he gets in those tough spots to decide the game, he comes through. And then home runs allowed is under 1. He hits every box. So that's 15, 25. That's 35 points for the pitcher. Bryce Elder gets 5. That's it. So it's 35-5. And then when it comes to offense, right now the Marlins are 129 weighted runs created. So that means they're 29% better than average offense. So it's double digits ahead. They get 10 points for offense. They're scoring 5.6 runs a game. That's more than 4.5. So they get 5 points for that. And then their WPA on offense is 1.67. So that's one of the best in baseball right now. That means when they have to execute to be in those spots to win a game or have a play that could win a game, it goes their way. And then home runs, it's 1.9 for the Marlins. So that means they're hitting almost 2 home runs a game. That's 10 points for them. So then the Braves, they only get the home runs. They're 1.5. That's the minimum number that you can get points for, and they hit it. So when you look at offense plus the starting pitcher, it's 65-15. And then the Marlins bullpen is better right now. They get 15 points to 5. And then they have the ancillary stuff too. In the last 30 days against right-handed pitching, they are 124. So they're 24% better than average offense. And on the road, they are 3% better than an average offense. So it's 88-20 Marlins. So when I come out and I combine the bet score with my numbers in my line, it's basically a 35% edge. So I think they're worth a bet here, especially when you can get them at a pick 'em price. So I like the Marlins today with over Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder, just to give you an idea, Bryce Elder is a 4.98 Sierra number. His xFIP's 4.66. He's not striking guys out. Is a 6.8 per 9 innings, but he walks everybody. 4.29 walk rate. The thing he's got going for him that helps him is he doesn't really give up home runs. His xWOBA number against the Marlins is a 408. It's the second worst against the opponent today. So in games that he's faced them, the lineup, they beat him up. So his batting average against, it's 299. It's almost 300. And guys on base, his whip rate 1.71 per inning. So he's almost getting 2 guys on base. So I don't like Bryce Elder in this spot. I don't like the Braves in this spot. The Braves have been bad, and they won yesterday. So I think this is probably a spot where Miami's the right side. So I would say that would be a bettable opportunity. The next game down is Cleveland and the White Sox. Look, the White Sox have been playing really good, and I'm probably going to surprise you when I say this, but Aaron Savali over his last 3 starts. Aaron Savali in his last 3 starts is a game score 72.7. Are you kidding me? 72.7. He threw a 79, 69, 70. That's the best in baseball. That's better than what Scooble's doing. That's better than what Skeens is doing. I mean, Aaron Savali, for Christ's sakes. So I tried to do some research and figure out, did he find something, like Yu Darvish, they said the other day after his good start that he dropped his arm slot. So he figured something out and he pitched better. Well, did Aaron Savali do something similar to that? I couldn't find anything that says that. The only thing I could find is that he's out there changing his pitch mix a little bit and doing some different things. I don't buy into any of that stuff as being a long-term success. But I will say he has dominated Cleveland in the past. He has a game score of 54 against them, and he's got a 186 xWOBA against their lineup. So I'm not betting against him. And I'm not going to bet on Cleveland either. So I think you just pass this game and move it along. The White Sox have been a little better on offense than you might think. They're 13th, and Cleveland is 23rd. But it's not really this big dramatic thing here. I don't like it. The line in the game was Cleveland's minus 154. My number was minus 152. I don't see any variance too much to look at for betting. But theoretically, I guess if you wanted to take a shot and trust Savali to have a 4th good start in a row, I would think that he's going to get bombed one of these times. But I don't like it in this spot for them. The next game down is a game I do like. This is Philadelphia and Texas. Look, Texas did a great job in getting Merrill Kelly. I thought it was a great pickup for them. He provides the third guy that's actually pretty good. He's a 3-WAR guy, Merrill Kelly is. But he's facing Christopher Sanchez. Look, I think it's really high time that we start recognizing how good Christopher Sanchez is. Wheeler is a 5.5 WAR guy. 5.5. Sanchez is a 5. He's right there. So he's as good as there is in Major League Baseball at that next tier from Scooble and Skeens and Crochet, right? He's that guy. He's right there. So here's another interesting note on Christopher Sanchez. And his last 10 starts, 10, he has a game score of 68. Now remember, 60 is what aces do. 55 is a good number. 50 is average. This is 68. This is elite as elite can be. He's hit that number 9 out of 10 times or higher. 9 out of 10. And the time that he missed was 2 starts ago. So he's probably not going to throw like he did 2 starts ago. He's going to throw like he has been. So I expect him to throw a really dominant game again today. So he's got a 2.88 Sierra number. Scooble is 2.51. That's how good he is. I mean, he's right there with those numbers. His strikeout rate for Sanchez is a little lower, obviously, than Scooble's is, but he don't walk anybody, and he's a ground ball guy. 58% of all the balls hit off of him are ground balls. So it's interesting, and he's got a great WPA number, and he's facing Kelly. And Merrill Kelly is an average pitcher that's been pitching pretty good, is really what it is. His number is a 4. Where is it? There it is. 4.11 Sierra number, 4.11 against 2.88. You're talking 1.5 runs there by the pitchers. And when it comes to, balls in play and all that kind of stuff, if you're not striking them out, they're hitting them. And I think that's where you're going to see an edge to Philadelphia here. Now, situationally, this is interesting because Texas is really good at home, 36-21, good at home. Philadelphia is 500 on the road. You'd like to see them be a little better on the road, but 500 on the road. But what's interesting is not that. The interesting part is Philadelphia is one of 3 teams that dominate right-handed pitching. Their win percentage is over 60%. They are 52-29 against right-handed pitching. That's pretty dominant. 23 games above 500 is pretty good. And when it comes to left-handed pitching, Texas hates them. They've faced them 29 times, only won 10. They're 10-19, and this is not just a normal lefty; it's a good one. So there you have an extra edge for Philadelphia. And when it comes down to, like offense, Texas is 20th, Philadelphia is 8th. Isolated power, Philadelphia is 2nd, and the Rangers are 21. So again, you have this big disparity in having to get a bunch of base hits together, to string them together to get a hit, to score a run. That's what Texas has to do. And they have to do that against this guy? I don't think that's going to happen. Philadelphia can hit a home run or 2, and then they've got 4 runs, and they beat them 4-1, something like that. So when you look at the value runs, Philadelphia is 5.3 runs better than average offense. Texas is minus 6.9 runs to an average offense. So again, I'm sitting here looking at how this stuff comes out. Bet score wise, the pitchers are pretty close. Sanchez gets 15 points for Sierra that Kelly does not. But game score wise, even though Sanchez has been a lot better. He still gets 10, and the Texas pitcher is 57, so he gets 10. So it totals out kind of with a 25. That's 35 to 20 for Philadelphia. Offense, almost every box for Philadelphia. So it comes out 65 to 20. And then you start adding in the bullpen. Philadelphia's bullpen is better. The ancillary stuff is better. Their bet score comes out 87 to 25, Philadelphia. And then when it comes to the combo sheet where you kind of combine the bet score handicap to the line, the reality is I saw the line at ProfitX this morning minus 128. My number's minus 136, so slight edge. So that gives a 52% edge betting wise to because of the bet score stuff to Philadelphia. So I think that's a good bet. So I like Philadelphia in that spot. The next game is Senga and Woodruff. Again, these are great games, great matchups. Senga has been really bad. I don't know how to say it. His data is really bad, put it that way. He's a 5.47 Sierra. There's Walker Buehler's the only one worse than him today. The only one worse than that. And he's going to face the number 1 or number 2 offense in baseball. That's not a good spot for Mets. So 5.47, his FIP number is 6.99, strikeout rate is 9, walks. He can't throw strikes. 7.31 walks per 9 innings and 2.25 home runs per 9 innings. That's not very good. His whip rate's 1.88. Hard hit rate is 41.7%, which is the third worst today. His WPA is negative 47. That's all of that means is that he gets hit hard, he gets hit a lot, he puts guys on base, and when it comes time for the critical moments of the game, he doesn't come through. That's what it means. Now, having said that, situationally for him, he's made 17 starts for the Mets. They've won 13 of them. They're 13-4 in his starts. So I think what you're seeing is a guy who was hurt last year who is now pitching and starting to rack up some innings. I think he's probably done, like tired, worn out. He's getting hit and getting hit often, and he's facing Woodruff, who is a guy that was hurt most of the season. Now he's kind of round in shape and getting into form and pretty damn healthy and throwing like an ace. So this is a guy who, in Woodruff, has made 5 starts for the Brewers, won all 5 of them. So, you can sit here and say, well, 13-4 is pretty good, but it ain't better than 5-0. So, and Woodruff has a 2.99 Sierra number, 11.69 strikeout rate. Nobody's hitting him. His walk rate's 1.61. His whip number is 0.72. That's really good. When you're under by that far, under 1, that's a good number. Give you an idea, Scooble is 0.93, and that's Woodruff is better than that. So I like what he's doing here. So Woodruff is also a positive 0.47. Now I did look, and Woodruff's starts, he made 5 starts. 2 of them were against the Nationals, and 2 of them was against Miami, and 1 of them was against Seattle. So if you're going to rank offenses that he's faced, Seattle might be the best, although the Marlins have been hitting the ball pretty good. So I'm not sure how this, but the Mets offense has been terrible too. Right now, the Mets offense ranks 24th in isolated power. They're 27th. And when it comes to the Brewers, they're second in offensive WAR and 8th in isolated power. They are 71% better than a regular offense. That means it's a 171 for them. They don't strike out, and they're 21 runs better than an average offense. And the Mets, they are 5 runs worse. So how my dog's digging in the corner. So how can you sit there and not like the Brewers today? because I don't think, and I think that it's, my number in the game is I have Milwaukee minus 104, and the number was minus 120. I don't think that that's too far off. I have a 37% edge based on the bet score to Milwaukee. Milwaukee at home, I'll take them. The Mets, by the way, on the road is interesting to me that you have a good team. They're 25-31, 6 games below 500. And Milwaukee, here you go again at home, 36-20. All these home teams, they just win. So I like the Milwaukee in that spot. Line's pretty good. This is another game I like. I didn't bet. This is Kansas City and Minnesota. I don't like to bet on Minnesota when Byron Buxton doesn't play. He is the catalyst to that team. He's the catalyst to their offense. I don't trust their offense without him. This is Joe Ryan against Lugo. Joe Ryan is a much better pitcher. My number in this game was Minnesota minus 146. I see the number at 125. So I think there's some value there. I'm just not going to bet it because I don't trust Minnesota's offense. If you like to bet it and trust their offense, so be it. Their offense right now is 16th. Kansas City's is 14th. They're about the same. I'm just kind of saying, hey, the offenses are about the same. I need Joe Ryan to be great, and I need the Minnesota bullpen to be great. Well, they got rid of all those guys, so I don't trust it. I'm passing. The next one was Chicago and St. Louis. Look, Boyd has been the best pitcher Chicago has. He's actually a 4-WAR guy this year. Nobody else behind him though. So when they get to the playoffs, they got trouble. Anyway, he's pitched 130.2 innings so far. That is by far the most innings he's ever thrown since 2019. So what is that? 5 years ago, 6 years ago? I mean, he's been throwing less than 50, less than 75, and now he's at 130. I don't trust Boyd going forward, so I'm not going to bet these big numbers for them. Plus, they're not hitting anyway. When you think about offense, the Cubs ranked 26th in offense, 22nd in isolated power. They're scoring 3 runs a game right now. And the Cardinals are scoring 4 runs a game. So that's the offense is a little better for the Cardinals. And the Cardinals play a little better at home. I don't like McGreevy, though. So I'm just going to stay away. I think the line is probably pretty accurate. My number in this game was minus 178 for the Cubs. It's minus 150. So it's a pretty accurate number. And I'm just going to stay away. I don't like the value there. The Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Look, when you play the Rockies and you come out of playing the Rockies, just ask Toronto and some of these other teams that have played the Rockies, then the numbers skyrocket on offense. So it kind of skews what I do. So you got to kind of skew it back a little bit. But that means that you shouldn't really fear the run line. Maybe even minus 2.5 if you can get some of that stuff. And here you have Austin Gomber against Gallen, and Gallen's been a little better. The Arizona offense has started to kind of hit a little bit, but I'm not dealing with this stuff. I don't like Rockies plays. I don't like Rockies situations. I have the number at minus 214. I saw the number at 235. I'm just going to say, hey, it's probably pretty good. I'm just going to leave it alone. Here's another game that I kind of like. And it's the last game. Well, I shouldn't say the last game. This is, my opinion, a bettable game. This is Rasmussen for Tampa Bay and Castillo for Seattle. Now, let me explain this for 1 second a different way. If I go to the last 30 games and I start to rank them, if you go clear down to the bottom of that rank, clear down to the bottom, there are 3 teams that have won 10 games in the last 30, 10 and 20. Well, one of them is the Nationals, which obviously you've seen them get beat up, right? Another team is the Braves. Maybe you didn't know they were 10 and 20 in the last 30 games. The next one is the Tampa Bay Rays. They've only won 10 games in the last 30. So, A, that puts them in the crosshairs of bet against teams, right? So when I started to look at breaking down this game, you have their best pitcher pitching today, Rasmussen. He has a 316 Sierra number. He actually has a 2.7 FIP xFIP. Well, that comes from his 1.76 FIP, which is the best one on the board today. That's because he's given up 0 home runs. So FIP is created by taking away everything except walks, strikeouts, home runs. That's it. Walks, strikeout, home runs. So a pitcher's dominance and how he can affect the game, Rasmussen does that because he gives up no home runs. His walk rate is 2.2 per 9. His strikeout rate's 9.37, which is kind of average, but it's good. So he's a good pitcher, right? So his last start was a game score 69. For his last 3 is a game score 59. For his last 7, though, it's a 50. He's been kind of dinged around a little bit before this kind of little bit of a run he's on. Castillo's last game score was a 47. His last 3 is a 52, but he's been really good. He's a 3.52 Sierra number, which is not very far off from what Rasmussen was, 3.16. It's about the same. Strikeout rate's about the same. He actually has a lower walk rate, 1.61, so he's not putting guys on base. And his home run rate is 0.32, so not very many home runs allowed. So when you start to think about it, you sit there and go, okay, well, pitchers, they kind of match up here. But Seattle and is 33-25 at home, so 8 games over, not in the best of baseball, but good. The Rays are 25-29 on the road, so they're 4 games under on the road. And then when you go and you look at offense, you go, well, where's Tampa Bay? This is why they're losing. 27th out of 30 teams in offense. They are scoring 3 runs a game, and they're striking out all the time. 29.4% strikeout rate there's one team that's worse than them, which is the Angels. Everybody else is below that number, so they strike out all the time. So they're not putting balls in play. Castillo can get strikeouts. He's not this major strikeout guy, but he can strike out guys. So then you have a 27th ranked offense versus the 11th ranked offense. You have a minus 8.8 runs for the Rays to a plus 3.5 for Seattle. And my count out to the bet score numbers, Seattle gets 30 points to 25 on the starting pitching. Then they add in 5, 10, 20 points on offense. Then they add in more for the bullpen, and then ancillary stuff. They add a couple. It's 62-30 Seattle, and then the combo sheet, which puts in my line. My number was minus 135 for Seattle. I saw them at 126. I think there's a little bit of value. That's 39% edge, I think, almost 40. So I liked Seattle tonight against Tampa Bay. And then some of the fun matchups, right? You got Boston and Seattle. And look, I was talking to Jeff earlier. Pavetta's a 4-WAR guy. Buehler is the worst pitcher today. The worst one. His WAR number, minus 0.3 on one of the sheets. I think that one was it doesn't matter, Street Steamer. And then the other one is minus 0.4. So a call-up guy would be better than putting Walker Buehler out there. So that changes the dynamics of this game a lot. My number in the game was San Diego minus 206. The number is minus 176, 172 at Profit X. Jeff said it was like 180 earlier when I talked to him. So I think the other part of this is when you start to look at offense, right now Boston is 19th in offense, and they are 24th in isolated power. They are minus 1.5 runs to an average offense. San Diego's been hitting a little bit. They are 10th in offense, and they are 20th in isolated power. So that's one of those teams that, does well on offense, but they're not hitting the ball out of the yard. And they are 3.7 runs better than average offense. So it's a little tighter gap, but I think you got a pitcher dominance factor in Pivetta. And Pivetta hasn't pitched against the Red Sox in a long, long time. So And he used to be a Red Sox, so it'd kind of be interesting to see how this goes. And, the Padres have seen Buehler a lot. He was a Dodger, so I think their familiarity helps out with the Padres. And the Padres at home, by the way, situationally, they are 36-19, one of the best records in all of baseball. And Boston on the road, they need to start winning these road games. They're 25-30. They're 5 games under. So I think that is advantage Padres. But it's too big a number for me. If you kind of like it a different way, you can look at this and go, they get all the pitcher points and generally all the offense points to San Diego. So if you add up just the offense and the starting pitchers, it's 60-10. Usually when you have a 60-10, you can bet them in the first 5 and be okay. Minus a half a run or something. This game is a game I really think is fun. This is Toronto and the Dodgers. This is Scherzer against Kershaw. Obviously, both of them in the twilights of their career. They're not the same pitchers they were when they were dominant. But Scherzer's off a game score 61. 61. That's ace number. And Kershaw's off a game score 68. That's like when they were back to when they were kids. Scherzer's a 56 over his last 3 starts. Kershaw's a 51. For the last 7, Scherzer's a 52 and Kershaw's a 51. So kind of right in line with being an average pitcher, maybe a little bit better than average. But these guys are veteran guys. They know how to get stuff done. So I like the idea here that it's going to be one of those spots where interesting. So then you got to match them up, right? So Sierra number is the first thing we look at, and Scherzer 3.34. Well, that's pretty elite. That's in the top 25% of all of baseball in his last 7 starts. Kershaw 4.74. So that's 1 run difference, 1.5 almost. And the reason for that is Kershaw doesn't strike anybody out. 4.29 strikeouts. So they're getting balls in play. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, Scherzer's 10. He's 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he's right up there striking out guys like he did when he was younger. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Neither one of them walk guys, but where the sort of an advantage is Kershaw doesn't give up home runs. He's 0 in his last 7 starts. So that's interesting. And then Kershaw is a ground ball guy, and Scherzer's a fly ball guy. So that was kind of cool. But then when I started looking at it in a lot of ways, most of the time these teams are having trouble with left-handed pitching. Well, the Blue Jays have faced left-handed pitching 30 times. And in those 30 times, they've won 20. They're 20-10 against left-handed pitching. Dodgers are one of those teams that beat up right-handed pitching. They're 50-33 against the right-handed pitching. So interesting stuff there. Dodgers are good at home. We've talked about that. But let's go to offense. Now, this is skewed a little bit because, remember, Toronto just came off that nightmarish thing for Colorado. They scored 8 million runs. So they're the number 1 offense in baseball beyond a shadow of a doubt. They are 184 so they're 84% better than average offense. They're scoring 9 runs a game. They had 56 runs scored in their last 6 games. They've hit 15 home runs in that time. So major offense right there. Now, I don't expect it to cool down. I expect the pitchers to be better for the Dodgers and cool them down a little bit more. But they're still hot. So the Dodgers offense, they rank 17th. In fact, they are 0.8 runs better than an average offense. Right there in the middle of the pack, just flat 0, right? It's almost 1. And the Blue Jays are 25.4 runs better than an average offense. They are 26% better than an average offense against left-handed pitching. So I like the idea here that when you start to come out with this number, Toronto gets points for the pitcher because 3.34 Sierra gets 15 points. And then The WPA gets a little bit of points for Scherzer. The only thing that points goes to Kershaw for is under one in terms of home runs. And then offensively, Toronto hits all of them. And right now, the Dodgers hit none of them. So the Dodgers are minus 1%. So that means they're 99% weighted runs created plus in the last 7 days. And then they're only scoring 4.2 runs a game, so it's not over 4.5. Their WPA is minus 0.31, so they're not dominating when it comes to getting the runs in and doing the stuff that they need to do to win the game. And their home runs are only 1.2 per game, so they're not hitting that number either. And then when it comes to the bullpen, they're kind of even. So then it's kind of even the ancillary stuff, just a little bit to Toronto. I like Toronto in this spot. I think Toronto can come off of that, kind of feeling invincible, and face Kershaw. And the one thing that I thought was interesting about Kershaw, this is SOPS plus now, so this is his grade on being able to handle the opponent's offense, and I'm doing it at home versus away in this spot. His home number is 125. That means he's 25% worse than an average pitcher at controlling the opponent's offense at home. So he's having some difficulty in Chavez Ravine in trying to control that. Whereas I think Scherzer's in a better spot there. He's a 76 on the road, so that means he's 24% better on the road than he is at home. He doesn't pitch good in Toronto. He pitches good away. So we'll see how that matchup goes. I like the matchup of Toronto tonight. I don't like to bet these games in a sense of my number was minus 148. They were minus 130 on Fangraphs, or not Fangraphs, but ProfitX. So it's a little lesser value, but I like Toronto. I just think it's a lower value play. So, like I said, I got 8 million plays today. This Washington-San Francisco game, I haven't seen a number yet. San Francisco pitcher is no good, but of course the Washington pitcher is no good. My number in the game is 154, minus 154. The pitcher, by the way, is going to be Y.I. Tang, whatever his name is, for San Francisco. It'll be his second start. He was bombed in the first start. I don't know that he'll get bombed in the second one, but Washington's. Washington. They're kind of like the National League Colorado. Well, shouldn't say National League. They're kind of like the stepsister to Colorado right now. So I think San Francisco can beat up that pitcher, Irvin. But at minus 154, I'm just going to leave it alone. So that was my number. I haven't seen a number yet. So anyway, Jeff, I think as a recap, I like Houston today as a bet. I don't mind the A's if somebody wanted to bet the A's. Miami, I think, is good. Bettable game. I think Philadelphia is certainly bettable. Milwaukee's certainly bettable. I think Minnesota's bettable. I just don't want to bet them because Buxton's not playing. That's just a me thing, probably. And I think Seattle's good. Maybe you can find a way to play San Diego, play on Toronto, like all kinds of stuff today. So anyway, those are my thoughts for this Friday. I'm glad that I sit here and go, holy shit, I got a lot of stuff today compared to like the last week or two. I haven't been able to do anything. Matt T says he likes Houston and Philly as the best bet today. I wouldn't blame you. I like both of them.
Good morning to Mr. Matt T. Thank you as always for joining us. Scotty, as always, a great rundown. Full slate, exciting. We're getting that time. It's funny because baseball, there was preseason games, 3 of them last night, 3 again today. First full weekend of preseason football. My point is, as each week gets closer to Labor Day, the MLB will be going back behind everyone's sports pages, and everyone forgets about the sport that got you through, April, May, June, July, and into August. And my point is, come September 1st and Labor Day weekend, and then the following week is the start of the NFL. we'll be in a 3-week dash to make the playoffs, which again, it looks like we're set on teams unless Texas has a big push or there's a couple more big collapses. The playoffs are set for the most part. And I want to circle back because you were talking about the Kershaw Max matchup today. I don't have them in front of me what the next two matchups are, but the Dodgers minus 230 or minus 235 to win the series, Scotty.
Well, let me pull it up and see what I can get for matchups here. Let's see. Schedule, go there. So today was obviously what Scherzer, Kershaw. Tomorrow is to be determined, Snell, and then to be determined and Yamamoto. But if I look at it in a different way, I can probably tell you who's going to pitch. Where's the Blue Jays? Blue Jays. That's not the right one. Roster resource, Blue Jays. So the matchups that I'm showing are going to be Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Chris Bassett against Snell, and Eric Lauer against Yamamoto. But think about it this way. You got Kershaw, Snell, Yamamoto for the Dodgers. That's pretty good. They're at home. That's pretty good. I don't, Toronto can win one of those games. And if I'm sitting here going, which one? I'm taking this one. You know what I mean? Like I would take this one. Not that, look, Kershaw's pitched pretty damn good. I mean, he really has. And it's been surprising to me that he's been, quote, this good. Blake Snell, I think, he's got to still work out a few kinks, but he looked good. He just didn't get the result maybe that they needed to his last time out. And Yamamoto's hit or miss, but his stuff's always good. So it's a matter of, Eric Lauer is just a viable veteran kind of guy. Bassett's probably, Bassett and Gosman, take your pick. I don't know who you like better between the Toronto pitchers, but they keep them in games. So, but they can get killed too. So, the Dodgers offense, I just said it this way: the Dodgers offense, they need to wake up, for God's sakes. It just needs to. Matt said, "I love playoffs baseball. I wish Kansas City was going to get in." Look, I like Kansas City as a good young team. I mean, I really do. But I said that last year. Yeah, and to be honest, those small mid-market teams have such a struggle with trying to compete with these big boys. That's the issue, right? I like Bobby Witt. I think Bobby Witt's a good player. I think compared to what he did last year, he's a step removed from that. Not that he's a bad player at all this year. It's just he was an MVP kind of guy last year. I think he's an all-star kind of player this year. He's not an MVP caliber player. And Miguel Garcia has been good for them. I think Salvi's, going to hit his home runs and strike out, and same with Pasquatch, right? So they need to understand in Kansas City that you need a lineup, man, that has multiple stars in it to compete in today's baseball. Like I always sit there and go, have you looked at the Padres lineup, for God's sakes? Have you, look at the Dodgers. They got 3 Hall of Famers. Bang, bang, bang. And then they got really good players after that. And Max Muncy's figured out how to hit again. So the Dodgers are in good shape. Look at the Cubs lineup. They got stars everywhere. So it's just a different dynamic. And I wish they were a little bit more, had the ability to spend a little bit to get some of these guys. Because, I like Detroit, but I don't think Detroit's a great team. They have one great pitcher. Flaherty pitches every once in a while good. Riley Green's having a great season for them. I think Torres has been pretty good, probably a surprise. Carpenter's been okay, but he plays against right-handed pitchers, and um, Torkelson's been okay for some of the season. Baez had a great first half, but they're not a great team to go compete against, like the Phillies or somebody. We just saw that. You saw the Phillies dominate them. So, so I think that Royals wise, can they compete with the Tigers? I think they can. At this point, I think they're better than the. I think they're better than the Twins, certainly. And to be honest, I think them should be better than the Guardians. They just got to start winning more games. That's all.
And they need a little Brett Saberhagen, a little Mookie Wilson, some of those guys.
George Brett.
George Brett. There you go. George Brett. You beat me to the punch there. Great as always. Check back with us early next week. I will be in Vegas Sunday morning. Wheels Up 7:30 in Boston. Should be in Vegas around 10:30 Sunday morning their time. Hoping to see a lot of friends. Hope to catch up with Crack, Bernie Fratto, possibly Ron Marmolevsky. Of course, the Wager Wire crew. Bet Bash will be at the Circa. Big things going there. So take a look at our timeline on potential show schedules or not. In exactly 35 minutes, Sean Alvarez at Wager Talk at Smooth Turn 2 to talk this weekend at Saratoga and Del Mar. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Shout out to Matt T. Big happy birthday wish to Amber Hawley. Everyone have a great, great day. See you back in about 35 minutes. Stay tuned.